All right, so
we going there?
I Yeah, I mean, I posted it because I understand where you're coming from, and I hope you understand where I'm coming from. This Lyndsey, I think it's Gough, Gough, from WTOC 11 in Athens, Georgia.
She is I'm a sports director.
She's a sports director, and she was doing a live shot from the end of the Georgia-Clemson game, and obviously it was just a slobber knocker. It was a low-scoring game, and she actually posted the shot of her, the live shot, where she was standing in the concourse. People were letting out, and it was wild. I mean, it wasn't wild. It was people were having a good time.
Yes.
And there wasn't a bunch of if you watch it, it's on Tone the Bone 37 or KCast Radio on our Twitter feed. People knew there was a live shot. Whenever there's a live shot, people want to be on TV.
That's right. I get that.
Period.
Yep.
That's always been, it always will be.
Yes.
There's some people that are in the Witness Protection Agency or cheating on their wives, and they're always walking the other way. But for the most part, you're like, woo! Walking up behind her, woo!
Yeah.
One guy got up and put his arm around her waist. We found out he didn't grope her. She said she was violated, but she was violated because, and that's what she said, don't touch me.
Yeah.
He was taller than she was, and he was trying to get a shot, and it was very brief. Her cameraman came out and said something. She's like, there was nothing around my buttocks or anything, but he touched me, and don't touch me.
Right.
And that's, I'm with you. You shouldn't be touched. If you don't want to be touched, then you can consider that a violation. I get that. But she was also, and this is not her first time she's been in these shots, she looked incredibly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to move. I'm going to have to do it. And so she got hammered for it because a lot of college fans are like, relax, dude, celebrate, have a party, enjoy the fan base, do this kind of thing. And I'm not a psychologist. I want to think that there's probably a little bit more to the story that we don't know about maybe from her past. I don't know. But
because of how upset she was, or what do you mean?
Yeah, she got really upset.
Yeah,
and
she looked very uncomfortable. Well, and
again, it's like storming the field. I mean, you're in it was the biggest game of the year on the first Saturday of college football. There were no ill intentions that I saw from anybody, and the more they came by and tried to get in the shot, the more, and you could tell she was live, and fans were being fans. I didn't see anything wrong with it. I get you shouldn't touch her. But, I mean, if she thought she was going to do a live shot at the end of that game without people interrupting her, then as a news director, what the hell are you doing? Again, this is pork chop underwear. Don't put yourself in that situation. She should be in a box, up on a lift, so she can report a thing, so she's got no one around her. I went back and looked at some of her other post-game things, and again, this was a huge game.
Oh, absolutely.
For Kirby Smart, this was a signature win for him. This has set the table for him for the rest of the season. It was a monster game, and I thought, and I watched it 2 or 3 times, I thought the Georgia fans were just trying to get some TV time and trying to have a good time and have fun. No one cussed. No one said anything weird. No one pinched her. No one, but they were getting in her space, and you could tell she was really uncomfortable. And so I think, again, I don't know. I would be. I'm just talking for every guy. I'd be interested to see if maybe there was something that happened to her in a different shot where she was violated, or she felt like she was violated. Someone grabbed her. Was there something in the past that made her feel really? Josh, I've been in this situation a million times where I've done reporting and I've done stuff, and people are gonna, and you just know that when the camera light goes on,
I get that. No,
I've done it to JP Dice. I'll see him on the street corner. I'll go, hey, people are trying to.
I get that. So,
she's got to know that's part of her job.
But here's the difference. And there was a lot of interest. We can go through some of the comments. A lot of interesting comments. But one of the ones I read was, if this was a guy doing the live, would he have predominantly females coming by? There was women at the game. Females coming by trying to jump in the picture.
No, that's the difference. No, but we know guys are different.
Yeah, but you can't do that. What you can't do is say, well, that's what guys are going to do. That doesn't matter. You can't do that.
Guys are, but let's be honest. Who's more vocal at a football game, guys or girls? Guys by far.
But
who's filled with more? Who's filled? So the guys are goofy that way.
But the whole point is, you can come by.
I think the bigger question is, would guys have done what they did to her if it was a guy reporter?
There'd be less of it. I think there'd be less.
Why do you think that is?
Because she's female, and they want to be next to the pretty girl,
and they feel like they feel like she's probably more vulnerable too.
Yeah, because she's not going to get
right, and that's a great point. Why do you feel more
vulnerable? I mean, she's not being
she
vulnerable.
She can't fend for herself.
Yes, exactly. I just want to make sure she's not being
and
vulnerable.
So that, and to your point, is a creep factor for me, because
that's what I mean.
If you see a female on camera at a football game, are you more likely to get up behind her and go, woo, as opposed to if it's
anybody.
Doesn't
even have to be a large man.
Director.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the point that this is what you and I were going back and forth. It's like, I get the TV part, I get being on TV, and I would even say, because I was watching this too, if you're walking by and you're not touching her, and you're walking by and you're doing the fingers, and everybody's used to that. I'm going to venture to say that's not what made her uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But what people were doing was standing. They were touching her. You don't touch somebody. I don't care whether there's TV or not. And the thing I didn't like was, again, you didn't see a bunch of women jumping in, going to grab a picture.
No.
And that's the part that's just, look,
women don't do that, though.
You as a guy, see, but it's the same thing. You as a guy can give, not you, we can give every excuse in the world. It's guys, she's there, she knew what she was doing, blah, blah, blah. But it's the same thing. You don't get to go in and touch a woman or a man.
Well, and let's be, she got touched. He got behind her to look like he was trying to take a picture and did like this, and he put his hand on her waist, is what we're being told. She's like, don't touch me.
Right.
Which is totally cool.
Yes.
But from that point on, she wasn't touched. Watch the video. She was not touched again from that point on. She's like, don't touch me.
Yep.
And then she pulled forward, and then people just started going by and put number one, and just being football fans. No one cussed. No one did anything. No one was drunk. They were just going, woo, and you could tell that her comfort zone, maybe it was the initial touching, and at that point she was like, just totally, I'm out. But at that point, you need to suck it up, and you're the sports director for that station and do your reporting. You could tell she was like,
yeah. No, I get it. Well, I know you got your cameraman, and usually that's all you got. You make a decision at that point. Yeah. You make a decision. This is not a good place for me. You see this on news report all the time. This is not a good place. We're going to move, whatever.
That's tough. That's tough. As a sports director, that is a tough nut to ask your GM. I didn't feel comfortable in the concourse at my own home game. I want to be on a cherry picker from here on out. Or I want to be outside of it, because that's the shot they wanted.
Yes.
They didn't put her on a cherry picker. Yeah. She's not up above. They want her. They should have put her in the stadium. They could have put her on the field. Yep. Okay? And if that makes you uncomfortable as a sports director, you're not going to have your job for long. And I don't know this girl. She's obviously a sports director. She does really, really well. But if I'm the GM and I'm watching that, I'm going, okay, we have a problem here.
Yeah.
We have an issue here. Shouldn't have been touched. And she dug her heels in.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are defending her, but a lot of people are like, hey, chill out a little bit. She looked very uncomfortable, and you cannot be in that position and be in that position for a TV station.
Let's go beyond what happened to her, because I thought the comments were far, far more interesting. The comments on social media were far more interesting because they
ran the gamut.
They ran the gamut, and they ran it in a very strong way.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, maybe it's not
the one you sent me, I thought was really interesting, the last one.
About choosing to be lesbian?
No.
What was it? I thought that was great.
Yeah, that was so.
She's like, if I could choose to be lesbian, I would.
No.
Which one?
LG and TV, nobody has a right to touch you, but thinking nobody was going to play into the camera as they exit the game is pretty effing stupid.
Yeah.
Spot on.
Yes.
So this
gets to the conversation.
Even before the game, before they took the first snap, they would have been playing the camera. She's got to know that.
This is the larger conversation. You got a daughter, I got a daughter.
Mm-hmm.
This is the men are creeps, and men will be men.
Men can be creeps.
Men can be creeps. Men will be men. This is what men do, right? I have a problem with that. Yeah. Like, I have a problem with that. This is, and I always say this is not hard. You wonder why that guys like us who don't do those things are lumped in with guys who do that thing, because we're male. And women are...
Well, hold on. What did they do wrong?
You don't jump in a camera and touch her.
Okay,
period.
There was one guy touched her.
Yeah.
One.
Well,
One.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, well, she split after that. No one touched her after that.
No. But when I'm asking,
let's throw the guy out because he just went in for a picture. Okay, I'm not saying it's right. You have no right to touch her, and I would never touch a woman. I would never touch a reporter unless I knew her. Okay, but what was wrong with the other 35 guys that went by and stuck their finger up or tried to get in the TV shot?
As long as they kept their space, fine.
It's hard to keep your space when you're on television.
Yes and no.
They were just being fans.
Okay, but I get it. And then, but the comments were saying they were drunk. Some of them were, some of them weren't. But I say the same. I'm saying the same thing. The comments were, you knew what was going to happen. I get it. Yes, you knew you were going to be in close proximity because just by definition, you're going to be in close proximity.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I think her own anxiety ramped up.
Yes,
because if you watched it, she knew the minute the light went on, it was on.
Yeah.
And you could tell the minute the light went on, she got real and she started looking behind her and she knew it was coming.
Because it
happens. The minute the light goes on.
Okay, so think you're a guy. You're a guy, and you see this all the time we see this in protests all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You see the reporter who is sort of put somewhat in the middle of the protest, not quite in the middle, but and they're reporting, and you can see they're looking behind them. Their eyes are pretty big. And you see them a lot of times. They'll make a judgment call. Okay, we're going to move to another location because they're not safe. Let's all just be human here for a second. Let's not just be a sports reporter or any sort of reporter. You put your back to a group of people who are loud, rambunctious, not even violent.
Yep.
I'm telling you, you're going to be naturally somewhat on edge. And I do agree with you. I think what happened was you start off on edge. I don't care how seasoned you are. If you got people coming behind you, it is a natural instinct to be what we call hypervigilant. Now, great reporters or people, they can sort of cover it up, but in their stomach, they're kind of wondering what's going on. The touch happened quickly.
Yep.
I mean, it was early on. And I'm with you. I think what happened was she was like, okay, this is not a good place. This is not a good place. And then, to your point, I think she was absolutely torn because of everything you said. I can't leave because this is the spot we need to be in. It
was unfortunate. Had she not been touched early, I don't know if she would have responded the same way, but I don't want to read into this too much and think that maybe she had some traumatic experience early in her reporting career, or what happened. But
she was doesn't have to be like,
she could tell she didn't want to be in that spot. Period, to even start with.
That's right.
And again, that's the spot they put you in, or that's the spot you picked.
Yes.
Because most reporters will say, let's set up here.
Absolutely.
The cameraman usually has no say in where you're setting up at. And she wanted to be in the middle of the action.
That's
right. But it never got crazy. People weren't throwing things.
But I think it spoke to not her, but you watch the social media comments. And this is the time we live in right now. And you can see, I saw women commenting on this too. Are you kidding me? Why would you set up there? You knew what you were getting into. And what I think is interesting is we live in a time right now where that's not okay. And there are more and more people, women, saying this makes us uncomfortable.
Can I tell you what she should have done?
What? Kicked him in the balls?
No.
Okay.
That would have been violating. She should have stuck the mic in a guy's face and asked him a question.
Yeah.
It would have been over.
Yeah.
She could have played along. She should have played along. Sports directors are fun. Whether you watch an Anchorman or Rick Carly or anyone, sports guys are fun.
Yeah.
They are fun. And if she was up there, she started reporting, and because sometimes you're wearing a hat, people are messing with your hat.
Yeah.
They're trying to mess up your side. If she had played along, and again, I'm telling her that if she's traumatized by something that happened in the past or whatever, or someone touched her and she didn't feel comfortable, she was gone. It was already over. She was already gone. There was no way that shot was going to get done. It was live on television. If she had taken them, dear Georgia fans, Georgia, hey, sir, tell us how about the game. They would have scattered roaches with a light on because people want to be in for that shot, but they don't want to be interviewed.
So
I'm telling you. And it would have played off really well for her. She would have looked like she was fun, even despite the fact that she was. And once she said, "Don't touch me," it was over.
Right.
That shot was over.
Do you think a man would have been as uncomfortable, or would have been uncomfortable as well?
No.
See, I
no,
do.
no,
I
no,
do. Not at all.
no.
Depends on the
I've
side.
never seen it. I've been to a million games, Josh, with TV reporters. I've never seen a guy get frazzled. Now I've seen guys get screwed with, tapping their hat, mess with their, and that's not cool. You don't touch, and that's the only part of this thing that I will totally say you don't touch a woman.
I've seen people
even to get a picture, and we see that all the time where people get behind and they're and they try to do it without touching them.
Yep.
It's like, and you cannot.
So is it
touch.
okay or is it not okay? Forget her for
is
a
what
second.
Okay?
This whole thing about, I mean, obviously jumping in the picture, you're in a public space, etc. But even the trying to look like you're touching her when you're not touching her, and you're trying to get your arm around her, but not really get your arm around her. Is that okay? Like you could.
You got to do the best you can not to touch.
No, but what I'm saying is he did the, even if he never touched her.
Yeah.
Put your arm around her, right?
Got no problem with it at all.
See, but I'm going to say would you do it? If I would, here's what.
The TV lights are on.
No, but I'm not.
That's what Josh. That's what the GM wants
for them to put their arm around her.
They touch or not, they want that shot. That's why she was set up there.
I'm not saying.
If you're set up in the middle of the student section, what the hell do you think you're going to get?
I'm not saying that that's not the shot. I'm saying.
I'm telling you, the GM was like, "Damn it, we missed a great opportunity there."
Sure, but at the same time, we live in a day and age where her response was not, and this is what I'm saying, social media went both ways. People are like, what are you doing? He didn't even touch you. He just da. And at the same time, you got this other string going, are you freaking kidding me?
She's got every right to be angry that someone touched her, and if she doesn't feel comfortable in that situation, that's fine. But here's what's going to happen. She's the sports director. She's got to be cool.
Yeah.
She is paid to be putting herself in positions of celebratory type of things, particularly for the Georgia Bulldogs. The next time the Georgia Bulldogs have a huge football game, where are they going to put her? We need the shot.
Yeah.
We need you in the Georgia student section. We need you with the band.
Yeah.
We need you on the field. We need you. Okay, you don't think she's going to get touched when she's down in the middle of a field when they're rushing the field?
No,
it's happening. And she came across. Again, I don't know her, and so I can't speak for her. She came across as a prude, and from a perceptual standpoint, that ain't my sports director. That's not. I'm just telling you.
But again, I'm
not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just telling you.
It's a larger piece. Like we talked about it, the guy reporter. With a guy reporter, first of all,
they may have a guy reporter before too long.
But that is the sad commentary.
Because how are you going to send her back to a Georgia Bulldog game?
What I'm saying, I'm going larger, right? So everything you just said, damn, we missed that. She should have been in there. She should have. They didn't even touch her, but it looked like they touched her. She should have. And my whole point is, we live in a world right now. Not right now. I shouldn't even say it, forever. Women are much more scared of men for good reason. Like, that's my point. This is not about her. There's a lot of things she could have done to pull the shot off, and then afterward come back and go, you effing SOB, a piece of shit.
I wish it would have happened.
Right. But what I'm saying is, when you watch social media and people are like, you knew what you were getting into, blah, 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 that's the part that just irritates me because of what you said.
I agree.
There was a guy reporter. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
if you're talking
from a psychological standpoint, tell me you don't think there was something. There had to be something. And I went back and tried to find a bunch of her stuff. Remember the girl that was doing the bicycle race and the guy smacked her in the ass? Totally violation.
Here's what I have.
But something has happened in her past.
I think from a psychological standpoint, and you
don't react like that. You don't react like that.
There are times where. I don't care how many times she's done it, because I've seen. You watch Ted Lasso?
I don't. I need to watch it.
Okay. You put somebody in the right situation or wrong situation. Lots of people, a lot of crowd. You got a lot of people behind you. I don't care how long you've been doing it. Like I said, there is some anxiety that comes up just because it's this.
We had Fox reporters on after that one news reporter was shot and killed.
That's right.
And they're like, do you ever freak out? Because they're sent to bad neighborhoods
That's right.
to cover stories.
And your back is
your
to
back
them.
is, and you hope the cameraman's eyes don't go like this.
Well, that's exactly what I was like. Forget groping.
Yeah.
You got drunk people with if you're standing with your back to something, somebody can hit you, someone can throw something at you, and that is a natural. If you don't have that in the back of your mind, even in the back of your mind, even if you've learned how to deal with it, you ain't human. So what I think could have happened is she may have done this 100 times. She may have been fine. For whatever reason, on this day, when you took the crowd, maybe she was having a bad day. Maybe she was anxious. Mm-hmm. And that crowd, it's the crowd. You're claustrophobic.
Yeah.
That feeling of they're getting closer and closer. And because it started earlier, it was enough for whatever reason to send her over her edge. I'm not saying she lost her mind. It was enough that she couldn't bring it back.
And I wonder if she would have reacted the same way had she not been touched so early. There's a common etiquette among fans that you don't screw with TV people. It's a common etiquette. You can wave, right. You can stick your finger, you don't cuss, you don't touch, and you let them do their shot. And then you get some guys that play along with you. They're we're having a great time here, and that would have been a great shot. It would have been celebratory to it. Instead of it just absolutely poured water on the fire because everyone was wanting to watch and see the celebratory thing towards the end of the game. There's a common etiquette that you don't do with television people. Now listen, I'm a radio guy. Anytime I can get on television, I want to get on television. And if you see someone set up outside a UAB football game or UAB basketball game, they're out there doing their one shot. But you don't want to be the idiot, But there's a common etiquette. It's a common respect.
It's not just a TV thing.
It's just you don't touch them. You let them do their shot. You can have fun with it, and you hope they play along with it. And if they do, they're cool.
But how's it any different? This is what I'm saying. How's it any different? You go to a bar.
Yeah.
You go to a bar.
Yeah.
You're gonna go pick up on someone. You're gonna pick up on a woman. Mm-hmm. Do you go? And I know some guys do. Do you go right in and scoot in right away and put your arm around? I mean, no. Some guys do. No, I'm saying some guys do. No. But if you think about common courtesy, not just etiquette from a TV standpoint, this is like, I can't believe we're talking. You talk about elementary human, don't go touch somebody you don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, if I came up and think if you're a guy reporter.
Yeah.
And I came up and get this shot.
I've had it happen. I've had people come up to me and want to get a picture, and they'll come up and they put their.
Yeah, and you're not angry, but are you somewhat uncomfortable? Depends who it is.
If someone says I want to get a picture, chances are I know that we're gonna. I had a picture taken of me the other day with a couple of young ladies who work for the CARE program. It's a new program in town to help underprivileged kids, and I was going to get a pizza of all places, and I said, can I help you guys raise some money for whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then she asked if we could do a picture. Now
that's different.
Yeah. But
I mean, it's different because there's all these opportunities for consent.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all.
But
I mean, come on.
I think she, again, I don't know what her situation is.
She could have had a bad day. She could have been sick.
Yeah.
I mean, when you watched her face, it was a combination, and I think this is important from a psychological standpoint. There was more than I'm just pissed. It was...
There's something else going on.
And I don't mean... It doesn't have to be deeper, darker, traumatized, anything. It was, I'm uncomfortable. I'm nervous. Not about being on camera. And I got people streaming by, and to your point, within, 10 seconds of rolling, somebody violated. And she had a hard time just coming back. And what I hope doesn't happen to her, this is the piece that gets me angry. I hope that she doesn't get hammered on for what happened to her. Now, I can understand the GM being... I'm with you. Damn, we lost that shot. But if you're a GM, and particularly if you're a male GM, have a little bit of compassion. You lost the shot. You're raising...
He's going to have to put her back out there.
No, but that's okay.
That's
okay. I think that's okay because that's part of your job.
And I'll say this: we did radio. We did a lot of remotes, right? Not visual audio remotes. And I used to do 2 or 3 radio remotes a week. I'd be at Sammy's and Senior Frogs and Jitterbugs and Buffalo Wild Wings and Cajun Steamer. And you would get on the radio and there would be people that would screw with you.
Yep.
And we had one particular female who was doing a remote. She was very attractive. She was very good at what she did. And she had one particular night where this guy, every time she went on the air, was, hey, and it started getting to the point where it was getting on her nerves. And I said, listen, this is part of the deal. I said, you go sit in the truck and do it, or you can go. But they were paying her to be out in front of this crowd to promote what was going on. I said, and sitting in the truck smoking a cigarette ain't going to get you paid. I said, so this is what you're doing. You need to be more comfortable with this. He wasn't touching her. He wasn't cussing or anything. He was trying to be funny. And it started getting, and so I said, hey, listen, dude, back it off a little bit. And you could, but he wasn't stalking her, but he was around pretty much sitting around her wherever she was, and it made her really, really uncomfortable.
Yeah, because go ahead.
Yeah, and
I'm sorry, because I mean, like, dude,
and I was like, this is your job.
No, I know.
This is what you do, and this is what you get paid $125 an hour to do. And I explained, she goes, but I'm uncomfortable. I said, I understand that, and she hadn't had an issue until this point. Well, she went in, met with a GM. She was a little drama. And said, I can't do these things unless, I have somebody there with
security,
me. And, I will get there a minute before the remote. I'm leaving a minute after the remote, and said all these things. And they said, sorry. This
GM male or female?
It was a female.
Female GM.
It was a female GM, the only female GM we had. And she's like, listen, you get paid to go out in the crowds. You get paid to go up on stage at concerts. If you're uncomfortable in this situation, and that goes for this director, that's part of your job description. If you're uncomfortable being in crowds where they could be kind of raucous or touching you or get, then we got a problem, because that's part of your job description. You got to be in the middle of it. And if she's is she the sports director?
She's sports director.
If she's the sports director for a big TV station in Athens or Atlanta or wherever, that's part of the deal, to get in the middle of these crowds and do these things. And you gotta suck it up and do it.
Well, so I think you had two things. You had one, which is what happened was not right. And then number two is her reaction as a professional. As a professional, could have been a little bit more go with it and then go kick him in the balls or whatever.
She could have easily posted. So she would have come across as a hero.
Right.
If she had done the shot, pulled it off, played it off, and then dropped the mic, and then said, by the way, I had a shot. Congratulations to Georgia Bulldogs. It was a raucous crowd. To all the fans that came by, thank you. You guys were great.
That's right.
Appreciate you giving me my space. But this asshole who touched me here, she could probably get him arrested. Well, and she would have come across as a hero.
What pissed me off more than anything else was not the shot, and was not what they did, and was not the thing. When I went and immediately started scrolling on social media, it's such that you knew
she knew that was coming too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
She knew what she was doing when she posted it. And having been in that, I don't know the organization, I don't know her boss, knowing what was going on and the way she handled it, I would have never posted that video.
No, I agree.
I would have never posted that video because
maybe she's ready to quit.
Maybe she is. It's been retweeted 650, or it's been seen 657,000 times.
Yep.
Unless she's planning on boogieing and she's got a job in the back, they ain't gonna fire her because they can't. But I would have never posted that because she knew exactly. She's got 7,000 followers. She was either wanting to get a boatload of followers, Well, and I'll say this. This is my last comment on this.
Yeah. This is the beautiful thing about social media.
Mm-hmm.
And I say this to anybody who's ever been hammered on social media. Just give it a little bit of time. If you're being hammered on social media and it's like hammer, just wait. Because within somewhere between 2 seconds and a day, then the other side will come out and they will defend you.
Mm-hmm.
Because it always happens. And then the next thing that'll happen is you're kind of out of it.
Yeah.
Then they're going after each other.
Then everyone else,
So
and then you just sit back and watch.
That's exactly. So I always tell people, no matter what you do, which is really terrible because it's almost no matter what you do, you're going to either get supported, and it could go the other way.
Yeah.
It could be absolutely. And then someone comes in. Are you kidding? She should have known it. And then all the sheeples come in on that side.
If lesbianism was a choice.
Oh, that was so good. If lesbian was a choice, I would choose it in a second for exactly this reason.
Yeah, all right.